Exactly, I mean, I'd have to resign.
Welcome, councillors, staff and gallery to the July meeting of council. We meet here in the spirit of respect, cooperation and collaboration. We pay tribute to those who've come before us as we grow in our understanding, our connection and our knowledge of our heritage and culture. We pay respect to the traditional custodians of these lands and the European settlers whose customs and traditions have been passed down through 6 generations. We have no listed of policies, so Councillor Greatwich may be on the way and held up in travel. So we'll move to item 2.1, which is the adoption of the council meeting held on the 17th of June 2025 at 5:30 and a special council meeting held on the 2nd of July 2025 at 5 p.m. Someone like to move to Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Hearn. All in favour? Carried. No petitions, deputations, notice of motions or questions with notice. The Mayor's report on page 5. Any questions? Moved Councillor Barrett and seconded Councillor Priest. All those in favour? Carried. Matters for information. Series of a list of matters there. Any questions relevant to those documents? We'll move on to the debate reports. 7.2.1, which is the future use of the Toowoomba Park Oval on page 73. Councillor De Vries.
Move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Move Councillor De Vries. Second? Councillor Priest. You wish to speak to it?
Yes, I do, Your Worship. I fully understand where the footy club is coming from, and if they, and whatever we do tonight, nothing can't be altered or changed down the path. I am concerned about the legal jeopardy that the council is in at the moment with this mixed use, and I think that one of the things which made the big project worked so well was that we took a very disciplined, long-term view of what we needed for the Barossa, and more importantly, we engaged deeply with the community, and we didn't adopt an ad hoc approach. And that was the sort of more ad hoc approach was what sort of happened prior to the big project, and I think that was why often things didn't get done. Well, we've seen the benefits of taking that long-term strategic approach, particularly with Lindock is probably an extremely strong example of that. But because we were able to levy so much money from the state and federal governments due to this approach that we've been taking, I don't believe that we should sort of veer away from that. So we went to the community at Mount Pleasant, like we went to the community of every town, and came up with a strategy. And I think that the community expect consistency and they don't want us to blow left and right in the wind. So for that reason, why I understand that some might see this recommendation as shutting down change, I disagree with that. I think that what we're doing is this is basically reinforcing the status quo so that we give certainty. Then if there is a desire within the people of Mount Pleasant to change, that we actually move away from the current strategy towards a new strategy. And if we decide that we don't want to have equestrian being the dominant use of that facility and then we want to open it up to football, I am more than happy to have that discussion. But I don't feel that I want to do it right now. And I don't even think that it should be done as a workshop. I think this should be done as if that is the path that we want to go down in the future, that we need to engage with the community and we need to take the same level of consideration that we took with Tanunda, that we took with Niri, that we took with Angus and we took with the Southern Hub. This is not something that we should be jumping into lightly. So for all of those reasons, I believe that this is the correct recommendation. If we want to move away from this, there is nothing to stop us doing that at the next workshop, if that's what we want to do, and we can begin the discussion then. But whatever we do, it shouldn't be done quickly. It should be done soberly. It should be done with a lot of reflection, because this is going to, if this was to be followed, would have a massive upheaval, not just on the people of Mount Pleasant, but on all the people involved in equestrian within this area, and we would have to have a complete relook at our strategy. And I'm not comfortable about doing that lightly.
Councillor Priest, you second the motion, you speak?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Barrett, can you just turn this off for a moment? We can cue it now.
Yeah, I concur with everything that Councillor Davis said. I am surprised that when the President sent a letter off to councillors for us to have a look at, that he didn't supply any financials with it. Now, I think that most clubs who want us to do something for them normally send off a financial statement to see how financial the club is for us to have a look at, and there was nothing there that I could see that showed any financials about how stable the club is. But I think we've already been through this several months ago about the park, Talunga Park, and as usual, if things come differently in the future, that we can change our minds and vote differently. But as is, I'd leave it at a status quo.
Councillor Barrett.
I would very much like to put up an alternative motion, Mayor.
A new motion? I think I've got to deal with this one first, don't I? I've got a mover and a seconder, so yeah.
We should have asked before we made it.
I tried, but you went straight to Councillor De Vries, and I was waiting.
Well, if someone moves and seconded, I can take it, but you can speak against the motion and put up with an alternative that you would like people to consider. But I think I've got a motion on the floor, so I've got to stay with it. Or you can do a minor amendment. Minor.
What I'm proposing is not a minor amendment, so I'm happy to speak against it right now, if you like then.
Well, if you want to speak, yes.
All right then, thank you.
Yep.
Right, the Torrens Valley Footy Club has a licence to use the Mount Pleasant Oval as per the terms articulated with our agenda report. On Thursday, the 23rd of January, the Secretary of the Footy Club applied to Council to renew the licence. The licence expired in March 2025, however it remains valid under the holdover clause, which allows existing terms to continue on a month-to-month basis till a new agreement is finalised. This year the club applied to hold training sessions, 4 games, 2 presentations, 1 day, 1 night, 3 social events and to host 1 final. As of today, the current lease has not been renewed. Staff have done their due diligence and have identified insurance issues and the use of the Oval for football and equestrian events. To date, that issue has not been resolved, and as elected members, we are being asked to approve the current resolution. Central to this issue is insurance risk, however, is the flow and effects of that insurance risk / assessment that needs your attention. Back in April 2018, the Talunga Park Master Plan was approved. For the Talunga Park, there are 10 priorities. For any of those 10 priorities to proceed, there has to be funding available via a mix of council, grant funding and/or local contributions. Proceed to August 2019 and a bit over $38 million worth of big projects were approved to proceed. 3 were listed for Mount Pleasant. 2 got funded and proceeded, but not their question facility. Now in the documentation that has been presented to elected members, nowhere in the documentation that has been presented to elected members does it place a question facilities and use of the Oval over and above the use of the Oval by the local footy club. Each is just one of 10 priority areas, nothing more, nothing less. At point 4, we're being asked to endorse the prior master planning whereby the facility is primarily an equestrian facility. Many people assume that is the case. That certainly hasn't been articulated in the documentation from 2018. The Jensen document simply states that we as the council should support, promote the increased use of the park for multiple equestrian events. The Jensen document also states the following when referring to the vision for Tallunga Park, with no specific mention of equestrian events. It hosts a range of local and regional sporting competitions, is home of the annual Mount Pleasant District Show and the popular Mount Pleasant Farmers Market, as well as being home to several local and district community groups. Nowhere is it written that the primary use of the facility is for equestrian pursuits. The Jensen document then talks about oval infrastructure and the local footy club, support and promote to facilitate sport, including Australian rules football competition and practice, to a level of service commensurate with use. The local footy club are doing no more than what is written in the approved master plan. However, based on contemporary insurance risk appetite, should the current resolution be approved, we as a council will not be supporting and promoting the facility for use. To the contrary, we will be doing the exact opposite. I've been privy to insurance correspondence from May of this year, whereby the author of the advice talks about identifying and remediating any reasonable foreseeable risks. Should the current motion proceed in its present format, we will have dealt with the risk by greatly curtailing the use of the oval by the local footy club. Conversely, the situation could be dealt with by an improved management of equestrian use of the oval. Such a proposition has not been canvassed in the report. Only football use of the oval. By way of example, the Mount Pleasant Show is held on the third Saturday of March each year. The event involves horses on the oval. Additionally, there are numerous horse events spread throughout the year. It is my observation there are too many horse events that are permitted on the oval too close to the football season. The local footy club are doing their bit by programming their games at Mount Pleasant in the latter half of the season, June, July, to allow the oval to recover. However, horse events are programmed too late in the year. Additionally, it is the type of horse events and when they are conducted on the oval, the oval is contributing to the insurance risk situation. Last year, a show jumping event was conducted in mid to late April and took ages for the oval to recover. Again, this year, 2 show jumping events were permitted to proceed in April, and the end result is that the local footy club hasn't been able to use the oval this season. I haven't seen change in this area, just more programming and in particular show jumping events closer to the football season, and these are the events that chop up the oval that have led to our current unsustainable position. With the time it has taken to bring this matter before us as elected members, the footy club has already missed out on a finals game this year and an estimated cost of $10,000, one home game back in June, and there's a game scheduled this Saturday, and they would very much like to play football there this Saturday. So that is why I would very much like this to be taken to a workshop and thrashed out so we can get some clear direction to staff. They're in an unenviable position, and a lot of what Councillor DeVries said is correct, but I just don't think at this stage we should be, in effect, spelling the death knell for the local football club.
I just want to clarify, you mentioned 2018, the master plan.
Yes.
In 2019, we set the priorities for the big project. Hang on, I just want to clarify, and I won't debate, I can't. Just want to clarify that I understand the equestrian stabling and oval linkages was a priority 1 back in 2019 in the document I'm looking at, and it also talks about the equestrian dressage area being a priority 2, and I think that's what Councillor DeVries is saying. We set some parameters there, and my question now to the acting CEO, I don't think the games can still play there this year, from what I understand, as long as the oval is at a suitable condition. So I don't think we're kicking them out. I think what Councillor DeVries has highlighted is that there's opportunities, but just to jump in. So I'm not allowed to debate, but I ask a question. You know, and I'm led to believe that, you know, there is... What we've put in place with all of our sporting clubs is a very, very structured current leases and licence. And I'm not certain when I read their letter that I'm seeing that same level of commitment there as far as any risk that we may be inheriting for the community. So can they still play there if the oval's up to scratch this year?
Through you, Mr Mayor, thank you, and thank you, Councillor Barrett. It's a very relevant question and point that Councillor Barrett was making, because council officers only confirmed for the club today that the surface conditions are appropriate for them to proceed this weekend. So for the remaining matches, so that'll be 2 after this weekend, a ground assessment will be undertaken prior to each of the matches to confirm that the minimum requirements have been met. So a significant body of work has been undertaken post the last horse event late April to remediate the grounds so that they mitigate the majority of risks associated with the damage that was undertaken or resulted from that last instance of it being used for that purpose. So the intention is to honour for this remaining season the home matches. We understand from the club, as has been reported, that they have missed the opportunity to host a final, which has a financial consequence for the club. And that's why in the recommendation at number 5, we have noted and are seeking capacity to negotiate with the club to find other remedies, and that could look like all sorts of options to compensate them for loss of access or income. But essentially the matches will go ahead this financial year for the commitment that has been set out in those rollover terms. We're asking for direction now to negotiate what further agreements might look like, because we can't hold over those provisions infinitely, and we're still managing the risk.
Sorry, I have another question then. Can you clarify for the elected members and myself, they've missed the final because of the oval, but they've still got Mount Torrens Oval, so isn't that is there a reason why they can't play at Mount Pleasant Oval, Mount Torrens?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's my understanding, without having undertaken a full assessment of the Mount Torrens facility, that it does not meet the minimum requirements for the association that's being played within to hold a final.
You got a question?
No, Your Honour, but through the chair, I just request that whoever's mobile phone keeps going off, could they ask to turn the mobile phone off?
Mine's been quiet.
I haven't heard one.
It went just before when Councillor was speaking there. Do.
Oh, okay. Okay. I know it's not mine. Any further? Councillor Angus.
Thanks, Mayor. It was certainly my understanding that we had made the decision that this oval would become the centre of equestrian activities. I don't think it's terribly clear as to what level football would be played at, if at all. It appears that the two uses, were, they couldn't go together. However, it appears now that perhaps is not the case, that the footballers can use the oval after equestrian events. If that is the case, then I agree that I don't want to cut the football club off, but I think we need time to sort things out properly. I would be supporting the current motion with a couple of minor changes. Rather than point 4 endorsing, we might investigate, because endorsing is basically carrying on with what you are planning to do. I think if we investigate to see what is the most suitable outcome, and again the word endorse in point 5 maybe needs to be modified, which leaves the door open for legal use by the footy club without holding the council's insurance to ransom, because this is what happens, is ratepayers will be left holding the can 20 years down the track for anyone who suffers an injury, potentially. And that's really the crux of the matter. And it would appear, as good as the legal system is, whatever agreements we have between hirers and the council, it seems to me it can be taken to court and pulled to pieces in a heartbeat. So there's no trust there. But for me, if the football club is happy to accept that the oval can be made good between horse events to their standard, then let them play on it. As I said, we need to get this sorted out properly. I don't want to cut them off, but I think this gives us time. But I do think the wording is actually presupposing an already given decision. So I would like to see the word endorse in both 4 and 5 move to something more flexible.
I'll put that suggestion in a second. I don't think we're shutting the door in it. I'm not seeing we're shutting the door. I think we're probably just saying there's more work that needs to be done. And I think that's the point I think Councillor Debree's made is that we just need to look at everything holistically, because we've still got a number of other priorities in our big project, and if we're going to increase the service level. But I think I'll just throw to the CEO, just Deputy CEO. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just make a comment in relation to clarify the remediation window following events? So depending on the latent conditions at the time and the nature of the ground surface within that window, it very much impacts the time taken then to remediate it to an acceptable level. So officers can absolutely take advice and the instruction from the chamber in terms of facilitating co-utilisation, but it's very difficult to predict what the window needs to look like in terms of closing off horse events within any seasonality to ensure that it's remediated in a timely fashion. Having said that it's remediated and the decision has been made today, in fact, to allow that event to go ahead, it's certainly not being presented at a level of service that it's in any way, shape or form consistent with any other football playing surface in our council area. So I think that information's relevant and it will require a period of passive recreation only within the facility. So there will be times when, by reducing the window for horse events, that entire facility will be underutilised. And that could be very well a valid decision of this council, but I think it's relevant to contemplate as well in your decision making.
I guess we're only just dealing with the suggestion of that.
This is not I'm just responding that I could imagine replacing the word endorse with acknowledge. Investigate would be a bridge too far, because at that point we're starting to make strategic decisions on the fly, and that's the point I don't want to do. But if you feel the word endorse is to, again, nothing that we do tonight can't be undone next week or next month. But if the word acknowledge gives some comfort that we're not locked in, if that's, I would be willing to go down that path. Would that be?
Not quite far enough, Dave.
Well, can you come
Acknowledge
up?
basically is status quo. We're acknowledging that the facility will come.
I've turned it off.
Mike, I'm at risk of debating, but I don't want to. The question people have a right to have their opinion heard too, and to suddenly say to them, "Oh, we're going to have a complete rethink of this whole thing," before they've even had a chance to
It's
discuss,
off.
I think would send a bad signal.
I
We need to be neutral.
It's off.
I think
David,
either you stay with what you got there, or it seems as if Councillor Angus is not comfortable with acknowledge, so we'll leave that as it is and put it to the.
for what it's worth, if any other councillor feels the word acknowledge
Oh, yes, yep.
Be out of it, I'm happy to
Okay.
change it.
As a second, are you happy with acknowledge?
Yeah, I'm okay with the knowledge, but I'd rather it say as it is, but I'm happy for change if that's what the chamber wants. But what the councillor want in number 5, he hasn't come up with a suggestion to change from endorse, so, yeah, I'm a bit confused there. Can I ask just a question of,
Questions, all right, yep.
Well, I've got a,
to the CEO, Joe Moyne. Today when I rang you about this situation, the Toowoomba Park, was it April to November, the question, don't use it? I can't remember now what.
Through you, Mayor, as I understand it, the last horse event that we had this season was in April, and I think they start up in post-football season, so October, November.
So then that gives them plenty of time to use the oval and have it remediated to a certain extent. So they have an opportunity to have a fair whack at the oval. Is that correct?
Councillor Hearn.
thank you, Mayor. Very good discussion this evening, and I agree with Councillor Angus. I'm not extremely happy with the way it is, and I think Councillor Barrett put up a very good argument for it. Could I ask the acting CEO, do the horse people do some remedial work after their last event in April? And also, how much does the insurance go up because of the oval or the situation if they don't?
Through you, Mr Mayor, thank you for the question, Councillor Hearn. Essentially, under our event management framework that the council approved in most recent times, we can require a facility hirer to contribute to the cost of remediation where the actions of council haven't directly contributed to those outcomes. In the instance that we're referring to today, which has resulted in a very significant period of remediation, some of the damage that was sustained to the oval was as a result of some deficits or defects in our own infrastructure, which is why they haven't been asked to contribute to the remediation costs. We do have that tool to exercise at our discretion, but in this instance it was due to a number of factors, including the drought, the condition of the oval prior, and then some localised irrigation flooding that's contributed to it. So that's that part of the question answered. In terms of our insurance status, council's insurance liabilities or our premiums are determined holistically, so it would be very difficult to pinpoint the contribution of one particular oval or facility and its risk profile. What we're flagging is if there's a claim, given that we have now received a number of complaints or reports of injuries that are being sustained as a result of the conditions, there is a known and accepted liability because we're aware of it. So therefore any future claims are subject to that decision making or that notification, which would result in a liability issue to council that ultimately would contribute to essentially increase in our premiums. So there's obviously multiple factors involved from a financial risk point of view. It's relevant that young people who sustain injuries or make reports of injuries, even when they haven't submitted a claim, they're held on file and are able to make a claim until they're 21 years of age. So that's a significant forward liability period that the council's carrying. And then there's also the wellbeing aspect where we don't want to see anyone injured, and I'm not suggesting that injuries don't occur even on the most premium playing surfaces. However, the risk assessment would indicate that there obviously is a higher risk when the condition's poor. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes,
for
it
you.
certainly has, but I agree with Councillor Angus and disagree partially with Councillor De Vries that we are closing them down when there's about a 6 or 7 month window that they could operate on. Well, they've got four games, then a possible another one, so that's...
Then council can revisit it. Is it equestrian, is it football, is it both?
But if equestrian aren't, as a mayor, if they're not, if they're not operating through that 6-month period, surely we could remedy the surface of the oval and and the club. Since we made those decisions with ovals and horse riding, we did say that horse riding that would be prioritised out there, but the club has changed in that time as well. So the situation has certainly changed, and I think the membership, Councillor Barrett could say that I'm out of kilter, but it's at least 250 members and it's increasing. So I think we should take that into consideration as well. And I agree that they should be able to pay. So with the ground in its current state, I'll ask one final question. Are they able to play under the current rules for the rest of the season?
I'll answer, through you, Mr Mayor, I'll answer the first part of the question and then I'll actually refer to my colleague, Mr Clark, to answer around the generalised condition of the oval. So, as I advised earlier in this item, at this point in time, our officers have approved the utilisation of the oval for the upcoming game this weekend. And if the conditions were to continue to improve or stay at their current state, we would absolutely endorse and support them to complete their final 2 games. However, should the conditions change, we will perform a risk assessment in consultation with the club like we would at any other venue where significant safety concerns were identified, which we have at our sole discretion the ability to do under our lease and licence framework and our event management framework. In terms of the oval, the window for remediation, and the activities that are undertaken, I'll refer to Mr Clark.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So in terms of remediation, it is weather dependent and depending on the last horse event. So the last horse event in April, if it's significantly impacted the surface and we're heading into a sort of the colder period, the ability to regrow and actually have impact with the remedy becomes challenging. The grass is in its dormant season. So what you end up with is a quite patchy, depending on the damage, can be patchy, which again can be safe for playing, but then you run the risk at the end of the season that football's churned it up and then we're going to go straight into horse events. So we continue to have this cycle where we never get the window to actually remedy the surface appropriately to make it, I guess, a good quality for either of the uses. So then because we got horses all the way through to April, then we start again. So we've never had a window to really remedy for either making it safe for the horse and adequate for the horse events or for football. So it's a challenging crossover, whichever way you go, because the timing just doesn't allow for us to remedy the oval appropriately. We had the last event in April and we're only just now able to sort of make it a safe surface because of the way it was churned up. Some years will be far easier because of the weather surrounding that. We have a drier lead into winter with a bit more warmth. We can grow the grass back quicker. If it's a wet winter and early, it makes it far more challenging. So it's so weather dependent, but it is always going to be a challenge with the events cycling through one after another to make it appropriate for either use.
I just want to say that what I'm hearing from our staff is that the decision that you're going to have before you, I'm not seeing that there's an issue here with them to continue this year. It's where you go in the future. And in the future, you now need to take into account the service level of the oval. Is it going to be equestrian or is it going to be football? If it's going to be both, you're going to have to do the whole surface again, like we are now talking about with Newry and Angaston. We're talking about those surfaces. So there's a bigger picture here that we have to consider. But I'm seeing at the moment that they can play their games there. I think Councillor De Vries has said this can come back. We can look at all of our priorities, and I think that's something we need to do under the big project next level of priorities, because there's some that are still listed and there's other priorities that we need to take into account. So if there's a need for the Mount Pleasant Oval to be a football oval, well then we need to have all that information here and understand where it fits in the overarching priorities, because I think we've got show halls at Angaston and other things at Stockwell. So I just... What Councillor Barrett has highlighted is good, reasonable, sound stuff. But there's stuff that we need to go back and look at the whole thing holistically. They can play their football here, there for now. We have a little bit of a window of opportunity. But to stay that we're going to it's going to be there forever and a day, I think we've got to look at the bigger picture on this one and just make sure that we're consistent with everything else that we've already given commitments. I think we've got some priorities at Williamstown as well. Now, if they all change and Mount Pleasant Oval surface goes to the top, that's the decision you'll make. But I don't think it excludes anything into the future with where we are. And hearing what the officers are saying, I'm hearing that we can make do for now, but if you want a longer term commitment, you better come back and look at it holistically across the service levels that you're going to provide and whether or not that's the way in which you want to go. Councillor Schilling.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor, I just have a question on Councillor Angus's amendment, and could you restate what you would like to change the word endorses to? Because if that's the case, then I would like to second that amendment if you're still prepared to put it forward. You can't do an amendment? Because we... Okay, fair enough.
Councillor De Vries, you can close the debate.
Thanks, Your Worship. Look, I just draw attention to the councillors to the second last paragraph of page 74. The last sentence reads specifically, the playing surfaces sustained damage from horse events, including uneven ground and turf disturbance, resulting in complaints from football players who raised safety concerns about tripping hazards and soft patches. These concerns have been formally communicated to councillor officers. The football club themselves have said that there's a problem and that there is danger and that they are not happy with that surface and they are concerned about safety concerns. They're the ones raising this. For us to ignore that, I think, would be breach of duty of care. Now, Councillor Barrett has made some excellent points. And I think all of those do need to be discussed and canvassed. I note that his solution is a workshop, and I think that is actually a good option. And I don't think that these things are either or. I think we can do both. So if we want to have a workshop, I have no problem with that at all. Clearly this will need to be discussed because I don't think the football club can be left in limbo, but likewise, I don't think the community can be left in limbo either. And the concern of just kicking this can down the road and saying, okay, well, we're not going to deal with it tonight, we're going to deal with it in a workshop in a week or a month or whenever, I don't think is responsible given that there is legal liability and there are safety concerns which are raised by the very club that we are discussing. So I don't think, as you know, we have a duty of care and we need to consider the safety of the players. We have a potential legal liability, or for all of these reasons, we need to do something rather than just say, oh, we'll deal with this in a workshop. What happens when that workshop is over? Then do we come back and do the same thing all over again? I would rather err on the side of caution, or not even err on the side, to take what I consider to be the reasonable position at this point. We can't leave the community in limbo. If, as a result of the changing needs of the football club, they would like to see a changing use of that ground and an upgraded use of football within that facility, I don't actually have an issue with that at all. But it will come at a cost. We have had this discussion over a very long period of time, as His Worship has mentioned, all the way back to 2019, when we moved to the point of this being the hub of equestrian in the Barossa. Now, if we decide that we don't want to do that anymore, that's fine. But I don't think that it should just be the people sitting around this chamber that make the decision. I think the people that we consulted and we dealt with when we were putting the big project together in the first place deserve a right to be heard as well. And this is why, Councillor Angus, I'm a little concerned about including the word investigate, because that is basically saying to the equestrian people, we have decided that we're going to revisit something that you thought you had certainty in. And that's of a concern to me as well. So I think we need to have that workshop. I think we need to have that discussion. If this council decides that we would like to change our whole approach to the use of that oval, I don't have an objection to that. I don't really have a dog in that fight one way or the other. I don't really mind if it becomes 100% football and no equestrian. We find equestrian somewhere else. But that's not what's before us at the moment. That's not what the community wanted us to do. So I don't feel very comfortable about doing an ad hoc thing without a proper investigation and without proper discussion. So for all of those reasons, and because of the fact that this council has had great success with the big project because we took a careful, considered approach with the community where we consulted, and we consulted at depth and at length, so everybody knew exactly what we're doing and why. I believe that before we start making changes, we need to have more information. We have to have a proper discussion. So yes, I'm more than happy for us to have a workshop. No, I don't think anybody's suggesting otherwise. But I think in the meantime, we just can't leave the community swinging. Now, in regards to the concerns that we all have about the football club and their capacity to continue to play, as I understand it, and it's been echoed, I think, 3 times tonight, there is nothing in what we do tonight that is going to affect the ability of the football club to continue to play out the season the way it is. So on that basis, and because I want to make sure that we take a responsible approach from a legal point of view, and we acknowledge the reality of the fact that there are safety concerns by the club themselves, that's why I'm supporting this recommendation.
Thank you. That ends the debate. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
I just saw that acknowledgement. So, can I just clarify what we're moving on? So you've got to take out acknowledgement and three.
No, that's it's as it's up there. Yep.
Apparently, councillor DeVries number 4, that was changed before.
I'll go back to Councillor DeVries. What the wording you wanted? It's as it is. Yep.
I put, when councillor Angus was putting in a possible amendment, I changed the word and I changed it back.
Yep. Okay.
But then when councillor DeVries agreed, that was in there a minute ago.
I said I would agree if the members of the
Yeah.
wanted to change it.
Yeah, well, we said yes.
No.
Now it's suddenly changed.
No. It's as is up on the screen. That's what you're voting on. All right. We're going all over
Yeah,
the
but
place.
hold on,
Yeah.
we did change it before the debate, Mayor. When councillor Angus put it up.
The vote is on the floor. So
Righto, well then I'll be voting no.
what you're voting on. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. 7.2.2. I think it can.
I would be happy to move.
Okay. Hang on a minute, I'll just give my governance guidance. It's a motion without notice, and I get to decide whether I accept it or not.
Okay. The motion is that this issue be put on the agenda for the next workshop for discussion.
The next or a future?
Or a future workshop.
Yeah, just because of the time frame.
Okay, that's Brisbane.
Yeah, okay.
I'll second that.
I'll accept it and I'll take a second.
Through the Mayor. Thank you.
That way councillor Barrett at least gets the workshop discussion and
Okay.
everybody goes away.
Okay, we'll just get it down.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, for discussion is fine. Are you happy with that wording, John? Don, sorry.
You weren't asking me.
I'm just wondering, councillor. Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm not preempting the outcome within the wording. I just want it to be discussed.
I just think all of these things, I agree with it.
Mm.
I don't have a problem with it, but I think somewhere along the line, we have to also include revisiting the big project priorities.
I think that's a separate issue, but yeah,
This has to be dealt with across the board.
I agree with that too. This is let's be honest, it's largely symbolic that we need to put it in now, but I think by doing this, at least gives the members of the football club an indication that we are willing to continue the discussion. I think that might solve your concerns too, Councillor Angus.
And I guess once you've done the workshop, well, then you can make up your mind.
I'm not preempting the topic for the discussion.
Which is one way or the other, you're increasing the service.
Agreed, yep.
Okay, seconded. You want to speak to it?
I think I just have. Yeah.
Councillor Evans.
Thank you, through the Mayor. Yes, I think it's pretty important to workshop this topic because it's got multiple levels and factors to be considered moving forward. And I wasn't fast enough with my buzzer when we were offering questions for the original recommendation. But primarily the only reason why I didn't support it, if I may, am I able to clarify this now at this time, or would you prefer not? No? Okay, thank you.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Seven point 2.2 on page 81 is the Barossa Park Advisory Group Terms of Reference, page 81. There's a recommendation there for consideration. Councillor Shelling.
Yes, I have a question,
Yep,
please,
yep.
Mr Mayor. I would just like to know how the bookings are being managed at the moment. Is it because the Barossa District's Football and Netball Association are the leaseholders? Do they manage all of the bookings for the site? Or is it council and them? I'm just interested to know how that's managed, please.
Deputy CEO. Yep.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Schilling. Very good question. Any lease or licence matters pertaining to organised utilisation of the site more broadly occurs through council officers, so our property team. So that's the formal ongoing use through lease and licence arrangements. For the booking of the actual club rooms itself, for ad hoc bookings, they're undertaken, and Barossa District's or Barossa District Football and Netball Club are the custodians of that process, just like all other clubs that have a lease over our clubroom facilities, and they use an online booking tool. That will transition shortly into Council's online booking tool as we implement that reform, and we will have visibility of what those bookings look like, but the ultimate decision for the clubroom bookings will still sit with the footy club, and they get the revenue. One of the things that our events and economic development team and tourism team are working with the club at the moment is to amplify the opportunities that that facility provides the community and our region more broadly to curate bookings that we then drag through to the rest of the valley in terms of accommodation, visitor options and day trips and all those sorts of things. So we're working heavily in partnership with the club at the moment to elevate those activities. One thing to note is that the club only have control over the actual clubroom bookings. The council, through our customer support team, still take ad hoc, one-off hire permits for the grounds themselves. So we have to work together very clearly. And there's an item within our confidential agenda today that speaks more broadly to state activations as well and their relationship with that process.
Yep, thank you. So is there any funds from hirers of that venue that comes back to council, or do all the funds of hiring the clubrooms go straight to the football club?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Ultimately, fees are passed on to us through the lease fees that the club pays to council. So as you will recall, council amended our lease and licence settings recently to put a cap on the current written down value associated with that venue, which still far exceeds any other club at $10 million. So that's where we recoup the costs associated. And there are significant overheads that the club's absorbing that this revenue is essential for them to collect to be able to meet their obligations and needs and stay financially sustainable, which we've learnt from other councils in our state.
recommendation?
Oh, yes, I'll move the recommendation. Thank you.
Moved councillor Schilling, seconded councillor Priest. Do you want to speak?
No, thank you.
Nothing's been said.
Any further comment? Put the motion, all those in favour? Carried. Now, there's a 7.2.3 is a monthly report as of the 30th of June. I just ask the Deputy CEO just to give a little bit of update. There was a little bit further information circulated. So Ms Moen.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. Just wanted to bring to the elected members' attention, as per an email that was circulated late last week, a transcribing error was identified in the attachment to the monthly, which was containing the monthly finance report. So we will minute the fact that the revised budget for the operating expenses was reported at $49,611,000 and should in fact be $51,837,000, and it was actually transcribed with the actual results, so the two columns were in the wrong order. So we've adjusted the actual result year to date, which was reported at $51,837,000. It should have been $49,611,000, and that creates now a net operating surplus of $695,000, which was originally reported as a deficit of $1.531 million. So we will have provided an attachment with the correct figures, and we will attach that as Appendix 1 to the minutes to provide full transparency to our community.
Moved councillor De Vries and seconded councillor Hearn. Either one which, yeah, with the updated spreadsheet. Okay. Any further comments? All those in favour? Carried. 7.2.4 is a minor amendments to the 2025-26 fees and charges register with a recommendation there. Councillor Priest.
I'll just move the motion if there's no questions through the chair.
Move councillor Priest, seconded councillor De Vries. Either one will speak to it.
Just that I had a discussion with the CEO today about the fees and charges, and she gave a satisfactory answer to why we are doing this. So yeah, I'm happy to move it.
Thank you. All those in favour? Carried. 7.3.1 is a request to consider a walkway closure, effectively a road closure for Barossa Village Incorporated. On page 100, Councillor Angus.
Mayor, I'll declare a conflict in this matter where I'm a board member of that organisation. I will leave the chamber.
Thank you. Councillor Schilling.
Live right near this area, so I'm very aware of where this walkway is, and happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you. And seconded councillor Hearn. You want to speak first?
Oh, I think it's been presented. It's not really a walkway. It's got garages and trees and all sorts of things, and nobody knows it's really there, so nobody's using it. And it'd be lovely to see this area developed by Barossa Village. So.
I know I put my... I'll do it the proper and professional way, but
Well done.
to yield for the councillor to second it.
Thank you, councillor Priest.
All those in favour? Carried. Seven 7.4.1 is the draft design standard 1 engineering requirements for land division on page 106. I think we had that at a workshop for opportunities to chat about.
Move the recommend.
I'll yield to. I'll second it.
Happy to move it.
Moved Councillor Angus, seconded Councillor Priest. You wish to speak to it, Councillor?
No thanks.
Okay. Any further comment? All those in favour? Carried. Seven point 4.2 is the amendments to the council signage policy on page 166. 166.
Move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Moved Councillor De Vries, seconded Councillor Evans. Either one wish to speak to it?
No, thank you.
No, I don't think people care much about electoral signage.
No, thank you.
No further comment? All those in favour? Carried. Seven point 4.3 is the appointment of officers to the Adelaide Mount Lofty Ranges Bushfire Management Committee on page 180.
Move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Moved Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Troop. Either one wish to speak?
No, thanks.
Sure, they'll do
We
a
missed
wonderful job.
an agenda item, 7.4.3. The draft planning, development and infrastructure. We did the engineering, oh, it's an attachment. Oh, sorry, thank you.
I'm sure they'll do a wonderful job.
Yes.
Okay.
It's, or rather.
Any further comments? All those in favour? Carried. Seven point 4.4 is a request to extinguish the encumbrance at Coulthard Estate, Newryopthar, on page 183. Councillor Priest.
So moved.
Councillor Priest. Seconded Councillor Angus. Either one wish to speak to it?
No thanks.
Any further comment? All those in favour? Carried. Seven point 4.5 is a draft submission of the Concordia Code Amendment on page 199. The recommendation contained in attachment 1 and authorises the Chief Executive Officer. You've seen this before.
Yeah, well,
Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Troop. Either one wish to speak to it?
not particularly, no.
All those in favour? All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. Councillors, we now move into confidential reports. Two reports that we will be dealing with tonight. Special Audit and Risk Committee agenda and minutes on the 2nd of June 2025. The other item, 8.2.1, is the Barossa Park draft right of use agreement for the state. And 8.3.1 is the Barossa Regional Procurement Tender for new surfacing and resurfacing of sealed roads. Councillor Priest.
Just a question, a brief question.
I need to go into confidence.
Oh, before, yeah, this is about why we're going to go into confidence about a okay. Just the last one about the 8.3.1. Just on that, I read through it. I couldn't see any contracts in there that are going to be signed or people who are going to be chosen to do a contract. So why does this need to be in confidence through the chair?
I'll let the Deputy CEO.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for that question, Councillor Priest. The information that's contained within that report is commercial in confidence, therefore it sits within the confidentiality provisions because we do speak to all the three or more tenderers that were assessed within that process. So it's absolutely meeting the confidentiality requirements.
Thank you. And seconded Councillor Hearn. Moved Councillor Priest, seconded Councillor Hearn. All those in favour? Carried.
Can you tell the CEO to have a holiday instead?
Next, are we, sorry? Next item in confidence will be the Barossa Park draft right of use agreement for the state, page 218.
Move we go into confidence, Your
Moved Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Priest. All those in favour? Carried.
We go into confidence, Your Worship.
Moved Councillor De Vries, seconded Councillor Evans. All those in favour, we go into confidence. Carried. So it's the Barossa Regional Procurement Group tender.
We go into confidence, Your Worship.
Moved Councillor De Vries, seconded Councillor Evans. All those in favour, we go into confidence. Carried. So it's the Barossa Regional Procurement Group tender. Councillor confidence first. That concludes our items for the July meeting. Our next scheduled meeting will be on the 19th of August at 5:30. With that, I formally close the meeting. Thank you.